I would like you to picture this. A man is running around and telling you that there's a guy in the sky who made up everything, who did everything, but there was no institutional backing to give him weight. There was no corners he could hide in whenever you told his contradiction. There was no weird Latin phrase or weird phrase in Aramaic that he could say to stop you from calling out his blatant contradiction. A world where he didn't exist. It's a world that I, an anti-theist, would love to live in. Religion has plagued humanity forever. For too long has it plagued, with most denying basic realities of humanity. And a good amount of them just being a scapegoat for women. Religion has stood in the way of progress for many. It has come to a point where I must say that the Appleton must come off of the building. For what was once the center of man should be dethroned from its position, for it has overstayed its welcome. An emergency mandate, religion, an emergency mandate that has lived too far as it has existed. It has gone unpunished for too long. With anyone, anywhere. The other day, a man, I had heard teachers, when I go to school, teachers have to, have to censor themselves. Science teachers have to censor themselves. When speaking of certain things, they have to put a little disclaimer. I'm going to say censoring because the truth is the truth no matter how you put it. And if we ignore these basic truths, if we ignore basic truths, we will end up dead. We will end up gone. Religion must be erased. It must be eradicated. It must be replaced with atheism. It must be ridiculed into nothingness. But in the recent times, it is forgotten. We have forgotten to push fully. It is no longer the time anymore. There are people out there who will blatantly spread these stupid words out in public. They will act as if whatever can happen here can be punished by a man who nobody has ever seen. A man who will not stand for you in life as something visible, as they will tell you that he is real even though there is no way to truly see him. He has affected policies. These gods have affected policy. They have affected the way entire groups have thought. They have affected entire generations. And to those who say that he is needed for morality and efficacy, those are the people that I was talking about in the beginning. We have come a long way from the days when we thought thunder was the mouth from these so-called heavenly sky beings, which is to say, God. We are no longer of Zeus We no longer need Sky Father to protect us, to protect no one. They never protected anything. The heavens never protected anything. That is the truth. The truth is nobody that buys this stuff wants you to hear. He didn't protect anyone. He was just sitting up there in his throne. Non-existent throne, might I add. I'm just setting scene. His throne, doing nothing. I don't know, probably munching on potato chips. And then there are people who go and say, oh, ontological argument. Oh, ontological argument. Can you ontologically stop talking? These are obviously stupid people. They will obviously fall for anything. I've heard of these people personally. They will go around saying things like, my God is an awesome God. He raised the dead. He didn't raise the dead. Either they didn't die, it was some wives' tale thrown in while the religion was still being created. There is no God. God is fake. He isn't real. I would just like to tell people that God is fake due to a myriad of reasons. He defies all logic. I think T and M done a great video about, he has a great saying about this, where he says, God is a concept that I can't understand. He's right. Something that exists outside of space and time is inherently an ununderstandable concept because there is nothing outside of space and time. This is a well-known fact, but people will come around saying things like, it's not a well-known fact, actually. People who say this are stupid. No, you're dumb. And also, I would like to harp back on my point that I made earlier. Fake beings have decided policy, real policy, not just sky beings in the sky that hide from the heavens. You know, I heard a man he once said, the sky being, Sky Daddy, you know, Heavenly Father, was hiding from the creations that scared him. Do you know how bad how bad of a creator you'd have to have been in order to scare yourself from even speaking to the creator? You know, when fathers leave the home, yeah, I'm gonna say it, you know, I'm gonna say it, you know, because, you know, the YouTube channel, I'm gonna shout him out, I watch him a lot. Long Live Langston said it. The guy who originally abandoned his child was God when he forsook Jesus to live, to die on the cross. And I think it's ridiculous that there's even a debate for that. There are I think there are entire schools of thought within religion that are solely dedicated to saying God is a real concept, something that should be respected and saluted. Their entire concepts, like I was saying before, sorry, it was a vocal clip. Like I was saying before, entire schools of thought that are solely dedicated to saying, look, he has his own free will. This is God. God has his own free will. He didn't have to do anything to Jesus. So he just sacrificed a man. And I'll be honest, a mentally ill man. For no reason. And let's harp on the Muslims. I will not be getting into many religious examples because, they're all equally false. And let's be honest. Well, let's be honest, those atheistic religions can get it too. I'll put a sentence for the atheistic religions. Look, you're an atheistic religion. Okay, we get it. But let's be honest here, man. Why do you need something like nirvana so that you know, what to do? Something like nirvana so that you can get to the truth instead of just knowing the truth. You don't need all these bilayers, and those guys flex, oh, well, us Hindus, well, I don't know if it's Hindus or not, certain religions, certain sects of religions say, oh, our religion doesn't need a God. Our religion doesn't need a God. It's ridiculous because it's flexing that. You could just say something along the lines of, look, if you don't need a God, then just don't have a God. You don't need religion. And look, that goes into all that other stuff. Heaven and hell. That goes into coping. That goes into the whole coping mechanism thing. Like, how are you gonna tell me to my face with a straight face that heaven and hell isn't just a cope by weak men so that when they see strong men, they don't immediately crash out and get themselves killed? Good cope so that the ultra wealthy could stay ultra wealthy. And this isn't a dig at the ultra wealthy. It is in human nature that competition breeds betterness. That is capitalism. That is like the greatest system that we have. But you don't have to, as they say, lube up the retractor when dealing with these situations, as they say. So, why is it that people are going around saying, oh, well, who get his in hell? It's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, which in certain parts of, which the deeper you get into this religion stuff, even that quote from Jesus becomes contested. Some say it's like cable in the eye of a needle. But that's besides the point. It's easier for a rich man to go through an eye of a needle, than a rich man to go into heaven. And that's ridiculous. Why are you feeding these people lies? When you die, you die. It's over. It's like you just close your eyes and fade out of consciousness, or probably don't close your eyes. A good amount of people don't actually close their eyes. Sorry, I'm filming this video outside, birds chirping. I film these videos outside. It's ridiculous to say anything else. And another announcement, because I'm gonna harp a lot on, I harp a lot on Christianity when it comes to religion stuff, because it's the only one I really know, because I'm a Westerner. But yeah, this video is probably gonna be titled, why I don't believe in religion. And it's true, religion is fake. Like, what do you want me to say when it comes to that oh so knowledgeable item? Sorry, there's another truck in that line. Religion is fake. Religion is a cope. It's literally all a cope. And I think it's high time we grow out of the cope. You know, and religion, funnily enough, you think after all this time, religion would die. But, industries big as this, they usually die the, in a different way than other things would die from. Like, it needs to be hollowed out and rotted to the point where even as you're sitting in the box, there is no box. The entire top is gone. We have to, there are certain things we must shed as a species so that we can reach the stars. To reach the stars, we must shed certain actions and activities. Certain things should be shed as we go toward our destiny, which is to unify, and become something bigger than ourselves. I like to think that my great 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 grandson will be, will probably won't see this video, but will be in the stars thinking about how crazy it was. That there was a time when people were doing certain things that they would consider dumb by that point, such as such as chronic individualism to the point of committing suicide as a society as soon as different people try to come and help your civilization. And then they'll focus on people who, certain people, because in every good there's gonna be some bad. They'll focus on people, dumb stuff like that, you know, as you'll be trained to transcend, because to transcend such silly things as thinking that all people who look different from him should literally be exterminated. Of course, um, that won't actually go away. That will always exist because it's a very human thing to think that. But it will be quailed. It'll be quailed. I mean, I hate to be that guy to say, oh, well, every other time, everybody says it's going to be quailed, but it doesn't get quailed. Look, there are certain advancements that will be locked until we make this change in society. So yeah, I would say it would be quailed, because when it comes down to it, there are people with vested interests. There are honestly people with vested interests. And it's like, yeah, but, and if they try to destroy everybody, and if these racist people try to destroy everybody, they'll end up just killing themselves also. So in the end, everybody will die. It'll just be death. Just be general death. I already see the guy in the comments. Ooh, no, it's not gonna be general death. Anyway, roll the outro. Goodbye.